So we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you for joining me this morning. My name's Lee Kaiser from Western Piedmont. I just wanted to give you a little overview of this class before you dive into it. Looks like you got the technology all sorted out. I can hear you fine. And if you will, activate your webcam so I can see you.
I've got it turned on. I don't know if you
Gotcha. There it is. Yeah, I see it. I think I got a setting on my end that prevents it from being viewed. Okay, so we're good there. I'm gonna bear with me here. I'm gonna start some presentations here. So we'll start with this one. So do you see the one that says class orientation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All righty. So what we'll do today is we'll kind of go through this. I'll tell you a little bit about what your class is like and kind of what to expect. It'll be what we call virtual sessions, and they'll meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting next week, beginning at 2. And the ending times will vary each day. Some days we'll get out at 4, some days 4:30, some days 5. I'll have a schedule sent out to you that you'll be able to access, so you'll know how long each day goes.
Okay.
To participate, you got to have audio access, which you do, and a webcam, so you're good there. We also have something called a Moodle site that'll provide some additional materials. You don't have to access that site. That's totally up to you. I'll give you a kind of a quick view of it in just a second, but by and large, what it does, it supplements the class. You can use the Moodle site because it's got some practice tests in it, or you cannot use it. The only requirement for you to get credit for the class, so you can take the certification exam, is to attend 80% of the virtual sessions, which means there are 34 hours total, and which means you need to attend at least 30 of them, roughly, more or less. So you can miss a couple, but if you miss more than a couple, we can't give you credit for the class.
Okay.
If you do miss a session here and there, I will record them, and you can always play them back later. So your books are Small Water System Operation and Maintenance Volume 1 and 2, and something called the North Carolina Needs to Know. Do you guys have those books at your plant?
Yeah, I've got the 1 and 2. I don't know about the North Carolina Needs to Know. He's probably got it here somewhere. Just I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry about that. I'll be able to show you how you can access it.
Okay.
So in terms of just successfully completing the class, what we're looking for is we want you to learn Zoom, which is this application that we're doing. If you look in your box, you see an opportunity where it says chat, maybe under a more ...
Yeah. Yeah. Right here.
You'll open that chat box, and then what you'll do, and you can see you can type something down there.
Yeah.
We'll be asking questions occasionally in the class, and I want people to respond. It kind of logs and timestamps that, in fact, that you are actually in the class and participating.
Mm-hmm.
So we will need you to be able to hit that chat. So just keep that little chat box open. What you'll find later also by keeping it open is that it will allow you to, right now you're chatting with everyone, but once you start to meet other people in the class, if you want to send just an individual that's in the class a message, you can do that and nobody else can see it.
Okay.
So that's handy to have. We'll also expect you to abide, since you're a Western Piedmont student, for the purposes of this class, you need to abide by the North Carolina Western Piedmont Student Code of Conduct, which means don't cheat on any tests. Make sure that if you attend a session that you don't have somebody else doing it for you and stuff like that. It's on our website. It's just like we just put it out there just to let you know that we expect you to participate, and for purposes of this class, make sure that if somebody logs on in your name, that it's you and not somebody else.
Okay.
Expect you to participate in class, be active, study for the exam, ask questions, and be patient and be flexible, because this is the first time we've ever done anything like this. And We're probably going to hit some bumps and glitches along the way, so don't let that deter you. Just bear with us, and we'll get you where you need to be in order to pass certification exam.
All right.
Refund policy that you are registering by college. If you decide after all this you want out, then by Monday, this coming Monday, if you send me an email saying I want to drop it out, I want to do this, then you get 100% of your money back. If once the class starts on Tuesday, then all the way through Thursday next week, you can get 75% of your money back. And then after Thursday of next week, this is state law. We don't have any discretion here at the college. It's something the legislature did. Then after that second class meeting, you don't get any refund. Yeah, if it turns out you got to drop the class for some reason and you can't continue in it, you don't get any money back, but you do get the Moodle site, and you can always come back and sit in on classes, and you can also review and view all of the recorded sessions. So that's available to you as well, and that'll be through September. Well, what you won't get credit for is an approved school. You got to complete an approved school to take the certification exam. But so if you drop out, you don't get your money back, but you get all the content, which will be handy to have. So just kind of let you know how that works. I'm going to give you a kind of a sample of the typical class to kind of show you how it'll work. Let's see here. I'm going to try to. Okay. Stop that one, and then we'll pull up the second one here. So when the actual class starts, it'll look something kind of like this. So like in a given day, we will have a class, and maybe we'll talk about introduction to wastewater treatment. Do you see that slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with me, I'm actually, even though I'm looking at the camera here, I've got that same slide on the board over here. So I'm going to be turning and writing on it some, and then I'm going to be turning back and then looking. So what we'll do, there'll be a series of slides, and I'll start each slide with something called the needs to know, which we talked about a while ago. And what it is, it's a kind of an outline of each of the topics we want to cover, where it's pump, activated sludge, disinfection, laboratory, tells you what types of questions you might be asked on the certification class for that particular topic. So this is the cover page of it, and I'll show you how you can download this. You don't have to buy it. And then what we'll do, we start off with the needs to know and say, okay, for grade 1, here are the types of things that you're going to be asked that we're going to cover today. So I'll start off with this list of questions, and then I'll end the class with this list of questions. So for example, get my pen going here. The first question is, what are the definitions and average ranges for following domestic wastewater? And we talk about things like, get my pen working, sometimes it's a little difficult. Yep. This thing gets cranky, so bear with me.
You're all right.
Yeah, there it goes, finally. So we'll talk about things like total suspended solids, BOD, pH, ammonia, nitrogen. And I'll mark on this slide as I talk about things. And then at the end of the session, this will all be actually loaded to this Moodle site where you can download it. So you'll get these slides ahead of time, and then you'll get my markups. So we'll talk about what we're going to cover today, and then we'll move on to the next slide. And I'll say some stuff, and I'm going to go down a couple more slides here and say, okay, here we're going to talk about wastewater, and we divide wastewater into 2 different types: domestic wastewater and industrial wastewater. And they're a little different in that domestic wastewater comes from homes. It comes from domiciles. It comes from institutions like this college that I work at. It tends to be fairly uniform in composition. Industrial wastewater, on the other hand, is highly variable. It depends on what kind of industry is actually taking place. It could be a wet industry like a chicken processor or a beef processor, or a dye and finishing operation that uses a lot of water, or it could be companies that don't use water in the process but still have some wastewater. Industrial wastewater is a lot more variable than domestic. At your wastewater plant, if you have any industries discharging into the collection system that your plant serves, you actually have to have that industry treat the wastewater, so by the time it comes to you, it has the characteristics of domestic wastewater. We talk about wastewater characteristics, we can break them down into three main categories. They can be physical characteristics of the wastewater, like odor or temperature. It could be chemical characteristics, like the different types of chemicals that are in it, and we'll talk about that. And then biological characteristics of the wastewater, whether or not it's got pathogens or organisms that can cause disease in it. Okay. In terms of physical characteristics, one of the things that we use in wastewater treatment is something called an Imhoff column. Do you have one of these at your plant?
I'm not sure. I've got a bunch of
stuff.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff right back here.
Okay, but it's a cylinder shaped like a cone, and what it does is you put water in it, and then you let it sit for about 30 minutes, and you see how much solids actually accumulates at the bottom. And what you're really looking at is the line here between what is solids and what is clear water, and you measure that off, and then that tells you the amount of solid material that'll settle out in the wastewater. By the time you come to a treatment on your what we call the effluent of your wastewater plant, it should be fairly clear water. So here's one you can see there's virtually no solids in. So that's an example of a physical characteristic of the water. One of many, but I don't want to do that. So these things are called Imhoff columns. I-M-H-O-F-F. Imhoff. And in a cone because it's cone shaped. So those are called Imhoff cones, and I don't know if you can see that well because of that color, but, but I'll experiment with that as I go along. And we'll talk about Imhoff cones later. You'll probably use them in your plant from time to time, and that's a device that will cover solids. And the thing is, I know that you're brand new to this and new to the plant, so you're learning both vocabulary and processes. So we're real careful to make sure that whenever we use a term that's not common, that's specific to wastewater treatment, we actually define that term and then talk about the concepts. So that's kind of how the class works. And then we'll spend about an hour, and sometimes I'll throw myself up a blank screen like this so that I can do my own drawing. And I may have like an Imhoff cone sketch, and then I may say, okay, wastewater is coming in, and it will settle out at the bottom. And then what you would read off if this says 10 milliliters, then your settleable solids would be 10 milliliters. So occasionally I'll come up with a blank screen that will that you won't see these in your initial slides, but you see them after I mark them up. So that's how that piece works. And then you'll get a copy of all that, and those will be available to you. The other piece that you will get access to is something called the Moodle site. Let me pull it up right here. Bear with me a second. Have you already got an email with a notification that you have your Moodle password?
I'm not sure if I have it or not.
Don't worry about it. I'll make sure these get out. Yeah, let me try again. Okay, so get my sharing going on here. Share screen, and we want this one. So you will have access to another type of application that says Moodle. You see the screen that says Dashboard Moodle?
Yeah.
Okay, and then your class is called Biological Wastewater Treatment Plant Operator. So you'll see this one, and then when you open it, it's going to look like this. It'll say Biological Wastewater Treatment Plant Operator, grade 1, and a little welcome. And then and here's the link. I've got it here that gets you into the Zoom site for next week and all the other weeks. So it's always there if you ever lose it. And I've got both my contact info, my email is there, plus my phone number if you ever need to call me. And then in here, we got things like that copy that needs to know we're talking about. That's a required book.
Mm-hmm.
It's here. So if I click on it, then it comes up, and you see it now.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the table of contents, and here's the grade 1 time requirement by topic, and then here are the different topics that you got to cover. And then again, if you scroll through it, you can see. Don't let me go too fast here. Okay. There's the same thing that I showed on that slide a while ago. So in this book, it asks these questions that you need to be able to answer. So that's a good study guide. So that's available to you by accessing it. I've got some quizzes. So I've got like here's a math quiz, and if it pops up, you'll see that here's an example of some types of problems that you will likely see in the on the certification exam. So you'll be able to take these tests, and I'll show you how to work these problems in our sessions. You'll be able to go to this Moodle site on your own time and take these quizzes over and over as many times as you want. It's the same problems, but you can come back each time fresh and keep taking it, make sure you get the right answer. So you write the question down, and then you solve it, and then you click on whatever answer you think it is, and then you hit submit at the end, and it tells you whether or not you got it right or wrong. And they're handy to have. This entire site, even though we'll quit broadcasting in July, this entire site will actually be up through September. So even though your class is over, you can keep coming back to this and using it as a reference to help you in your studies so that you're ready to take the exam. So that's handy to have. And you'll have, get back to where we are here. It's a little tricky to navigate, but you'll figure that out. So we got some quizzes I'm gonna build, and then we got the actual slideshows for each day. So here's introduction to wastewater. That's the actual class that starts on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And what I just showed you, those slides, you'll actually be able to click on it here, and then it opens up so you can see them yourself. So you can print these if you want, or you can just watch my screen. Did that one come up for you?
Yeah, it came up.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. So, and then I'll have at the end of it, there'll be a little quiz associated with that module. Same thing. Ask you some questions about wastewater that you should have got from the class. Again, sometimes you just take these and you don't remember, so you just click on anything and see if you got it right or wrong. Sometimes it's trial by error. You do this enough times, you'll kind of get used to it. The same questions keep popping up. Again, you don't get graded on it. I do see your attempts and how well you did, but I don't score it. What that does for me, that tells me with all the students how well I'm doing in terms of getting you the information, right? And then you use it on your end as a practice to see how well you've learned it. And you can take these over and over as many times as you want. It's a pretty good resource. And then there will be, so that's introduction to wastewater. That's Tuesday's class. Then Thursday's class is wastewater collection and grease traps and pumps. So each topic is in there that we'll actually go through, and I'll continue to add content and stuff that's useful to you to help you along the way. So you'll get a link to this, and it'll be a user ID specific to you. I think it'll be like C-Step will be your user ID, and then you'll get a password, and you log in, this class will pop up. And again, it'll be available to you till June. I'm sorry, till September. Okay, so let me look at a different one to share and get back where we were. Share that one and slide. So refund policy, I showed you typical class. Any questions you have for me at this point?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay, well, I think you're good set. So we should be fine. So you should be good. Just plan on being with us next Tuesday at, there's your phone. What I'll do when we have like 20 people in session, I'm going to mute everybody.
Okay.
So only I will talk. And what will happen is if you need to ask me a question or stop what I'm doing to make me re-explain something better, what you do is you open that chat box, and then that chat box, then that'll get my attention. It'll pop up on my screen, and I can stop what I'm doing. And then I will unmute your mic. You can either type the question or you can say the question. But I'll keep, so you don't have to worry about folks walking in on you're talking or a phone going off or something like that. I'll keep everybody muted so that no one else can hear what you're doing.
Okay.
All right. So if nothing else, then we'll wrap up, and I'll see you next Tuesday at 2 o'clock.
All right, Al. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.